Soon, the hundreds of billions of dollars patients spend on traditional drugs each year will be funneled into superior psychedelic-inspired treatments that actually work. Back in the 1950s, Humphrey Osmond led a group of pioneering psychiatrists in an extensive study of psychedelics. And from that research, they found that these hallucinogenic drugs had immense therapeutic potential. With academic research coming to an indisputable conclusion and mental health awareness on the rise, the legal landscape is starting to peel back antiquated laws that were put in place 50 years ago. In creating a superior treatment for mental health disorders, the shroom boom will give rise to a new multi-hundred-billion-dollar medical industry. Let's dive in. Here's why the miracle psychedelic drug could save lives and mint millions. Welcome to Timely Investment Research. There has been a lot of negative news over the past year. A war in Europe. Inflation running at decade highs. Economic indicators suggesting an incoming recession. I don't know about you, but I'm getting tired of hearing about all that stuff. So, amid all that chaos and negativity, I decided to break the trend. Instead, I'm going to tell you the story of a remarkable man and share with you how his story could help you make a lot of money in the stock market. Meet our hero. Heroes come in all shapes and sizes, and today, our hero comes in the form of a man named Jonathan M. Lubecki. He honorably served in both the Marine Corps and U.S. Army from 1995 to 2009. While serving, Lubecki was deployed to active combat zones in Iraq. In the midst of the Iraq War, Lubecki's base in Balad was hit approximately 6,000 times with mortars, bombs, and rockets. It was intense. So intense that when Lubecki returned to America, he struggled with PTSD, as so many of our noble veterans unfortunately do. Lubecki's PTSD was particularly bad. He fought off suicidal thoughts for a long time, but those thoughts wouldn't go away. Now, don't worry, despite the next turn, this story actually has a happy ending. After struggling with suicidality for so long, Lubecki made a hard decision and attempted suicide with a 9mm pistol. But miraculously, the gun malfunctioned and Lubecki survived. He took it as a sign that he was meant to live, to keep fighting his PTSD and, eventually, win. But at that time, he was missing the tools he needed to do that. Then he started reading about MDMA and its unique ability to cure PTSD in some folks. He was intrigued. One thing led to another, and Lubecki found himself at the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies Research Center in Santa Cruz, California. There, he met with professionals and was put on an MDMA-inspired therapy routine for his PTSD. It worked wonders. Lubecki found that the mind-altering characteristics of MDMA calmed his PTSD in ways that traditional medicine had not, and it helped him to feel embraced in ways he had not felt since before the Iraq War. The treatment was a true lifesaver, a new generation of life-saving medicines. As it turns out, Lubecki isn't the only one whose life has been saved by MDMA, LSD, ketamine, or magic mushrooms. All those drugs belong in a class of substances we call psychedelics, and traditionally, they've been frowned upon. But things weren't always like that. Let's rewind 70 years. Back in the 1950s, Humphrey Osmond led a group of pioneering psychiatrists in an extensive study of psychedelics. And from that research, they found that these hallucinogenic drugs had immense therapeutic potential. But socio-political backlash against hippie culture in the 1960s halted their research. And in 1970, psychedelics landed on Nixon's Schedule I drug list. The book was closed on psychedelic research for decades, until the 2010s. That's when the academic world reopened that book and discovered a universe of opportunity and untapped potential. Psychedelic drugs have robust therapeutic potential. A pair of recent Johns Hopkins studies have found that the active ingredient in magic mushrooms, psilocybin, can significantly help with smoking cessation and reducing alcohol dependence. An even more recent Johns Hopkins study published in 2020 found that psilocybin can relieve anxiety and depression levels in people with life-threatening cancer diagnosis 4 times better than traditional antidepressants on the market. That finding corroborates a previous NYU study, which found that psilocybin causes a rapid and sustained reduction in anxiety and depression levels in cancer patients. Meanwhile, a recent UC Davis study found that psychedelic microdosing can produce beneficial behavioral effects in patients with mental health disorders. Further, a study out of Imperial College London found that psilocybin is better and faster at treating depression than Lexapro, a leading antidepressant treatment today. The list of academic studies goes on, and they are all coming to the same conclusion. Psychedelic-inspired medicines have robust therapeutic potential. The laws are shifting too. With academic research coming to an indisputable conclusion and mental health awareness on the rise, The legal landscape is starting to peel back antiquated laws that were put in place 50 years ago. Oregon and Colorado have legalized psychedelics and authorized the development of treatment centers for their use. California, Kansas, Iowa, Illinois, and Michigan have all introduced legislation to decriminalize psychedelics. Pending legislation in Arizona, Pennsylvania, and New York would allocate funds to and promote psychedelics research. State lawmakers in Georgia have proposed a formation to investigate psychedelic-assisted therapy, while legislators in Utah are looking to license production and medical use of certain psychedelics. Folks, the sands are shifting. The shroom boom is coming. This is great news for humanity because it means that Lubecki's life won't be the only one saved from PTSD, depression, anxiety, or addiction. Tens of thousands of lives will be saved every single year thanks to the legalization of psychedelic-inspired medicines. And this is also great news for you as a growth investor. Enormous opportunities in the psychedelic megatrend. In creating a superior treatment for mental health disorders, the shroom boom will give rise to a new multi-hundred-billion-dollar medical industry. All the ineffective antidepressant and anti-anxiety drugs out there in the market today will become antiquated and even extinct by 2030. By then, the hundreds of billions of dollars patients spend on those drugs every single year will be spent on superior psychedelic-inspired treatments that actually work. Of course, the companies that make those drugs will generate huge revenues, and they'll be able to turn those revenues into huge profits too. This new industry isn't like cannabis, where anyone can grow and sell weed. In order to sell a psychedelic-inspired medicine, you need FDA approval and clinical trial success. The barriers for entry here are huge, meaning massive margin protection and huge profit potential for the drug makers. Not to mention, the psychedelics megatrend will redefine the mental health care industry regardless of how the war in Europe plays out, what happens with inflation, or what the Fed does next. Mental health will always be an issue, and mental health treatments will always have a huge market. Thanks for spending some time with us today, Timely Investment Research. We're so glad you did. If you found value in today's video, please give us a like, hit that bell icon to never miss an upload, and hey, don't forget to subscribe.